Hello, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome back to English Made Easy. It's so good to see you here again. If you're new, welcome to English Made Easy again. And the whole mission of this channel is right there in the name. We want to help you learn English in the simplest, most natural, and most useful way possible. We don't just memorize lists of words here. We talk about real, important, and sometimes difficult topics, and we learn the language we need to discuss them, to argue, to persuade, and to understand. Today, we are diving into a really big one, a question that people feel very, very strongly about all over the world. We're going to be talking about education, schools, and a very modern debate. Along the way, we're going to pick up some incredibly powerful advanced English words. I'm not going to spoil them for you just yet, but I will tell you this. These are not just words for an exam. These are words that help you build an argument, that help you sound more intelligent and thoughtful when you speak. They help you explain exactly what you mean, especially when the topic is complicated. You can use them in a job interview, in a university debate, or even just when you're having a deep conversation with a friend. I'm going to build my own argument today, and I'm going to be very honest about my point of view. But this is a debate, not a lecture. So I have a challenge for you. As you listen, please think about your own perspective. If you disagree with me, I genuinely want to know why. Let me know your counterpoints in the comment section below. It would be so interesting to hear from you because that's how we all learn, right? By listening to each other. I promise you that by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how to use these new words, what they mean, and what their synonyms are. You'll know when to use them to make your point powerfully. And a quick tip before we start, please say the words out loud after me. It's so important. Even if you're on a busy train or sitting in a library, just whisper them to yourself. I'll be speaking with the natural rhythm of a native speaker, and repeating after me will help you get that rhythm into your own speech. Ready? Let's get into it. The big question we are wrestling with today is this: should schools teach LGBTQ+ education? This is a debate that touches on so many things: student well-being, parental rights, the very purpose of school. You will hear passionate voices on both sides. But today, I want to build a case for a specific stance. My stance is this: no, I do not believe schools should be the primary place for this kind of education. And I want to be very clear from the start. This is not about a lack of care or respect for anyone. The world is changing, and we all want children to grow up to be kind, happy, and safe. The real question for me isn't if children should learn about the world, but who should be guiding them through the most personal and sensitive parts of that journey. My argument starts with what I see as the core problem: the role of the school and the role of the family. I believe that when schools take on the responsibility of teaching subjects that are deeply tied to family values, morals, and personal identity, they are overstepping their fundamental purpose. For me, guiding a child through the complexities of identity, relationships, and sexuality is a parent's fundamental right and responsibility. It is their prerogative. Let's stop on that word, prerogative. It's a fantastic, powerful C2 level word. Let's break it down. Prerogative. Prerogative. The stress is on the second syllable, ra. Prerogative. Say it with me. Prerogative. So what does it mean? A prerogative is a special right or privilege that a particular person or group has. It's not just any right. It's a right that is seen as fundamental to their role. Think of it like a captain of a ship. It is the captain's prerogative to make the final decision in a storm.
It's their unique right and duty because of their position. A good synonym, a much simpler word, would be right or privilege. But prerogative is stronger. It suggests a right that is naturally yours because of your role or status, a right that shouldn't really be questioned. So, when I say that teaching these specific values is a parent's prerogative, I mean that it is a fundamental right that comes with being a parent. Parents are the first and most important teachers a child has. They know their child's individual personality, their emotional maturity, their cultural and family background. They are uniquely positioned to introduce these complex topics in a way that is right for their own child, at a time that is right for their own child. A school curriculum, by its very nature, has to be one size fits all. It cannot possibly account for the vast diversity of family values, religious beliefs, and cultural norms that exist in a single classroom, let alone an entire country. When a school system decides it will teach a standardized lesson on gender identity or sexual orientation, it takes that prerogative away from parents. It places the school's judgment above the family's judgment. And for me, that is a deep and serious overstep. It fundamentally changes the relationship between the family and the state. It says that the school, an institution of the state, knows better than the parent about how to raise their child and these deeply personal matters. This creates a conflict where there shouldn't be one. The school's job is to support the family, not to replace it. Imagine you were teaching your child how to ride a bike. You know when they're ready. You know how scared they are, how brave they are. You hold the seat, you run alongside them, you decide when to let go. That is your prerogative as their parent. Now imagine the government said, no, all children must learn to ride a bike on this specific day, on this specific hill, with this specific method. You would feel that something essential has been taken away from you, wouldn't you? The system is ignoring your unique knowledge of your own child. For me, teaching about identity and sexuality is 1,000 times more personal and delicate than teaching a child to ride a bike. And so the parental prerogative here is 1,000 times more important to protect. This leads to another issue. When we add these complex, socially charged topics to the school day, it becomes a huge encumbrance on our education system. Let's look at that word. Encumbrance. Encumbrance. The stress is on the second syllable, cum. Encumbrance. Say it with me. Encumbrance. An encumbrance is a burden or something that holds you back, something that makes it difficult to do what you need to do. It's like trying to run a race while carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks. The backpack is an encumbrance. It slows you down and makes your primary goal, running the race, so much harder. A simpler synonym for encumbrance would be a burden or a hindrance. Our schools are already struggling. Teachers are overworked, class sizes are often too big, many students are falling behind in core academic subjects like math, science, and their own native language. These are the skills that are universally agreed upon as essential for a child's future success. They are the foundation of their education. When we force schools to also become the primary educators on highly divisive and sensitive social issues, we are adding a massive encumbrance to their already difficult mission. Think about the time it takes, the hours spent debating the curriculum, training teachers to handle these sensitive topics, dealing with parental complaints, and managing the classroom conflict that can arise. All of this time and energy is being diverted away from the core mission, academic education. It's a heavy backpack full of rocks. And who's carrying it? The teachers and the students. The result is that we risk graduating students who may have been exposed to very specific social theories, but who cannot write a coherent essay, solve a basic algebra problem, or understand the fundamentals of their own country's history. This isn't a theoretical problem. We see educational standards slipping in many places. Instead of focusing resources on getting better at teaching the basics, we are adding this new heavy encumbrance. It's not fair to the teachers who are often put in an impossible position, expected to be experts on everything from long division to gender theory. And it's not fair to the students whose precious and limited time in the classroom is being used for subjects that are, I believe, the proper domain of the family. The school's role should be to remove burdens from students, to make their path to knowledge clearer and easier, not to add a heavy social and political encumbrance that can slow down their essential academic learning. It's a distraction from the main goal, and a heavy one at that. This brings me to my second major point, which is the direct negative impact on the children themselves. I am deeply concerned about the developmental appropriateness of this material. Introducing complex ideas about sexuality and gender identity to young children, especially in primary school, can cause unnecessary confusion and anxiety. It risks creating a precocious awareness of adult themes that they are not emotionally or psychologically equipped to handle. Here's our next powerful word: precocious. Pre-co-shes. Precocious. The stress is on that middle syllable, co. Precocious. Let's say it. Precocious. Precocious is an adjective that describes a child who has developed certain abilities or interests at a much earlier age than is usual. For example, a 5-year-old who can read a long novel is a precocious reader. A 6-year-old who can discuss politics with adults might be described as precocious. It often implies that they are dealing with things that are beyond their years. A simple synonym might be advanced for their age or sometimes mature, but precocious has a specific flavor. It's not always a compliment. It can suggest that a child has lost a bit of their childhood innocence too soon. When a curriculum introduces topics like gender fluidity or different sexual orientations to a 7-year-old, it is, in my view, forcing a precocious engagement with concepts that are abstract, complex, and deeply personal. At that age, children are still figuring out the world in very concrete terms. They are learning about friendships, about sharing, about what is fair and what is not. Their sense of self is just beginning to form, and it's fragile. To load their developing minds with questions about their fundamental identity, questions that many adults struggle with, is to rush their development. It can plant seeds of confusion where there was previously simplicity. A young boy who likes to play with dolls might suddenly be taught that this means he might not be a boy. A young girl who is a bit of a tomboy might be led to question her gender. Before, these were just innocent forms of play. Now they are viewed through a complex ideological lens. This creates a precocious self-consciousness that can be very stressful for a child. Childhood should be a time of exploration and play, a safe harbor where children can grow at their own pace. Forcing them to confront and analyze their identity through these specific modern theories is like asking them to run a marathon before they have even learned to walk steadily. You are demanding a level of abstract thought and self-analysis that their brains are simply not ready for. It can lead to anxiety, a feeling that they have to figure themselves out according to these new categories, when all they really need is to be allowed to be children. We are asking them to bear an adult psychological load. It's a precocious burden, and I believe it can do more harm than good by stealing a piece of their childhood. Furthermore, because these topics are so personal and so deeply tied to family beliefs, bringing them into the classroom inevitably makes the school environment itself contentious. This is a really useful word, Contentious. 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 The stress is on the ten syllable. Contentious. Say it with me. Contentious. Something that is contentious is something that causes or is likely to cause an argument or disagreement. It's a controversial topic. Political debates are often contentious. Discussions about religion can be contentious. It means the subject is full of tension and disagreement.
When a school decides to teach a specific viewpoint on LGBTQ+ issues, it is wading into one of the most contentious debates in modern society. This isn't like teaching math, where 2 + 2 always equals 4. This is a subject where good people, moral people, hold fundamentally different beliefs. You have families with deeply held religious views, families with different cultural traditions, and families with different philosophical ideas about human nature. By bringing this topic into the school, you are not creating harmony. You are importing a societal conflict directly into the classroom. It creates a contentious dynamic. What happens when a child goes home and tells their parents what they learned in school, and it directly contradicts what they are taught at home? This puts the child in the middle of a conflict between the two most important authorities in their life, their parents and their teacher. This is incredibly stressful for a child. It forces them to choose, to question, to feel disloyal to one side or the other. It also creates a contentious relationship between parents and the school. The school is no longer seen as a neutral, trusted partner in education. It is seen as an institution that is pushing a specific ideology, an agenda. This erodes trust. Parents may feel they have to fight the school to protect their own values. School board meetings become battlegrounds. Teachers are caught in the crossfire. The entire educational atmosphere becomes politicized and toxic. We want schools to be places of unity, where children from all backgrounds can come together to learn common knowledge and skills. We want them to be safe havens from the loud, angry arguments of the adult world. By insisting on teaching these deeply contentious issues, we are doing the exact opposite. We are turning the classroom into another front in the culture war. The focus shifts from education to indoctrination, and the potential for division and conflict becomes immense. The subject is, by its very nature, contentious, and I believe that is a powerful reason why it does not belong in a mandatory state-run curriculum. Now, it is absolutely essential to stop here and acknowledge the other side of this argument. It would be unfair and intellectually dishonest not to. The people who advocate for this curriculum in schools are almost always motivated by a desire for a better world. Their goal is to promote inclusivity. Let's focus on this word, inclusivity. In-clue-sive-I-T. Inclusivity. It's a long one. The main stress is on the sieve syllable, inclusivity. Let's try it. Inclusivity. Inclusivity is the practice or the policy of including people who might otherwise be excluded or feel like they are on the outside. It's about making sure everyone feels welcome, valued, and has equal access to opportunities and resources, no matter their background, their identity, their abilities, or anything else. It's the idea of creating a space where everyone belongs. A simpler way to think about it is openness to everyone, or the practice of including all types of people. The argument for LGBTQ+ education in schools is built on this principle of inclusivity. Proponents will say that some students are LGBTQ+, and to ignore their existence in the curriculum is to make them feel invisible and unwelcome. They believe that by teaching all students about different identities, the school becomes a safer, more accepting place for everyone.
The goal is to create a culture of inclusivity where no child feels like an outsider because of who they are or who their family members are. And this is a noble and beautiful goal. No one with a good heart wants any child to feel unsafe or unwelcome at school. We all want a world with more inclusivity. I share this goal completely. The desire to protect children from bullying and make them feel seen is something we should all support. So the disagreement is not about the goal. The disagreement is about the method. My argument is that while the intention is to create inclusivity, the method of a mandatory specific curriculum often has the opposite effect. As we discussed, it creates conflict between the school and the family. It can make children from traditional families feel that their beliefs are wrong or backward, which is not inclusive of them. It can force teachers to teach material that goes against their own conscience, which is not inclusive of them. True inclusivity is not about forcing everyone to adopt one specific, modern, and often politically charged ideology. True inclusivity is about creating a space where people with different fundamental beliefs can coexist with mutual respect. It's about saying, your family believes this, and your family believes that, and in this classroom, we will treat each other with kindness, period. You don't need to deconstruct a child's understanding of gender to teach them not to bully someone. You just need to teach them not to bully someone. The goal of inclusivity is vital, but I believe the path chosen, a mandatory specific curriculum, is a flawed and divisive one that ultimately fails to achieve the very harmony it seeks. The push for this curriculum is also a response to the real and painful problem of marginalization. Let's pause on this word, marginalization. Mar, jin, na, la, zay, shun. Marginalization. Another long one. The main stress is on that za syllable near the end. Marginalization. Let's say it slowly. Marginalization. Marginalization is the process of making a person or a group of people feel insignificant, unimportant, or pushing them to the edge of society, to the margins. Imagine a page in a book. The main text is in the center. The margins are the empty spaces on the sides. To marginalize someone is to treat them like they belong in those empty spaces, not in the main story. It's the act of excluding them and making them feel powerless. A simpler synonym could be exclusion or sidelining.
The argument is that without specific representation in the curriculum, LGBTQ+ students experience marginalization. They don't see themselves or their families reflected in the stories they read or the lessons they are taught, which can make them feel that they are abnormal or that their lives don't matter. This feeling of marginalization can lead to real harm, like depression, anxiety, and a greater risk of being bullied. Again, this comes from a place of deep empathy. The pain of marginalization is real. To feel invisible, to feel like you are on the outside looking in, is a terrible experience for anyone, especially a child. Proponents of the curriculum see it as a direct tool to fight this marginalization. By explicitly talking about LGBTQ+ identities, they hope to bring these students from the margins into the center, to validate their existence and signal that they are a welcome part of the school community. I understand this logic, and I feel the compassion behind it. No child should be made to feel like they are on the margins. However, I believe this approach makes a critical error. It assumes that the only way to combat marginalization is through representation in a specific ideological curriculum. It also risks creating new forms of marginalization. What about the child from a devout Muslim, Christian, or Jewish family? When the school teaches a lesson on gender and sexuality that directly contradicts their faith, does that child not feel marginalized? Are their family's deepest beliefs not being pushed to the side, treated as insignificant or outdated?
We cannot solve one group's feeling of marginalization by creating it for another. The core mission of the school should be to unite students around common, human, and academic principles, not to divide them based on identity categories. The feeling of belonging should not be dependent on whether your specific identity group gets its own lesson plan. The feeling of belonging should come from the school's fundamental culture. This is why my focus is on a different solution, one that avoids these pitfalls. It's a solution that aims to fight all marginalization without creating new divisions. So if not a specific mandatory curriculum, then what is the solution? How do we create safe and respectful schools without wading into these contentious issues and without stripping parents of their prerogative? I believe the answer lies in focusing on universal principles that are already supposed to be at the heart of our education system. The principles of kindness, empathy, and respect for every individual must be ubiquitous. Let's learn this beautiful word, ubiquitous. The stress is on the second syllable, bic, ubiquitous. Say it with me, ubiquitous. Something that is ubiquitous is something that seems to be everywhere at the same time. It's present and found everywhere. In today's world, you could say that smartphones are ubiquitous. Coffee shops in big cities are ubiquitous. It means you can't seem to get away from it. It's everywhere you look. A simple synonym would be everywhere or widespread. Instead of a specific week or a specific lesson dedicated to one group, the values of respect and anti-bullying should be ubiquitous. They should be in the DNA of the school. It should be part of how a math teacher talks to a student who is struggling. It should be in the rules of the playground. It should be in the way history is taught by looking at all people with humanity. It should be in the literature that is chosen, which should expose students to a wide range of human experiences and struggles. A truly ubiquitous anti-bullying policy doesn't need a specific category. It simply says, we do not tolerate any student being teased, insulted, excluded, or harmed for any reason whatsoever. Not for their race, their religion, their family background, how they dress, what they believe, their abilities, or their perceived identity. Everyone is safe here. Everyone is respected. This approach is far more powerful. Why? Because it is truly inclusive. It protects the quiet religious child just as much as it protects the child with two moms. It protects the nerdy child who loves science just as much as it protects the child who is questioning their gender. It creates a shield of respect around every single student rather than creating special protected categories, which can inadvertently create resentment and further division. When the principle of respect is ubiquitous, you don't need a contentious curriculum. You simply enforce a culture of decency. If a student uses a slur against another student, the response is not a lecture on identity politics. The response is clear and swift discipline based on the ubiquitous rule that we do not use hurtful language to attack others in our school. This is a clear, simple, and legally and morally defensible position for a public school to take. It brings parents and schools together under a shared, universal value, kindness, instead of driving them apart over ideological differences. The goal should be to make basic human decency so ubiquitous in the school environment that it becomes as natural and expected as breathing the air in the classroom. The problem is that a specific LGBTQ+ curriculum is often presented as a panacea for the complex problems of bullying and exclusion. This is a fantastic word to know for debates. Panacea. The stress falls on that C syllable. Panacea. Let's say it. Panacea. A panacea is a solution or a remedy that is claimed to solve all problems or cure all diseases. It's like a magical potion that can fix anything. For example, someone might mistakenly believe that money is a panacea for all of life's troubles. The key to this word is that it's almost always used negatively to suggest that such a perfect solution doesn't actually exist. It's a false hope. A simpler way to say it would be a cure-all or a perfect solution. The curriculum is presented as a panacea. The logic goes, if we just teach this, bullying will stop, mental health will improve, and inclusivity will blossom. But this is a dangerously simplistic view of a very complex human problem. Bullying is not caused by a lack of curriculum. Bullying is caused by cruelty, insecurity, a lack of empathy, problems at home, and 100 other deep and difficult things. To suggest that a few lessons in the classroom can solve this is to offer a false panacea. It's a tempting idea because it seems so easy. It's much easier to change a curriculum document than it is to do the hard, daily, grinding work of building a genuine culture of character and respect, student by student, day by day. That requires constant effort from every single teacher, administrator, and staff member. It requires dealing with individual situations with wisdom and consistency. There is no shortcut. There is no magical panacea. By putting all our faith in this one solution, we risk ignoring the real underlying work that needs to be done. We focus on the political fight over the curriculum instead of focusing on the moral and ethical development of students in a universal way. The curriculum becomes a substitute for genuine character education. It's like believing a diet pill is a panacea for poor health when what is really needed is a long-term commitment to good food and exercise. The pill is the easy, appealing answer, but it doesn't solve the fundamental problem. The real solution is harder, but more effective. It is the ubiquitous application of universal principles of respect. It is a partnership with parents, not a battle against them. It is focusing schools on their core academic mission while reinforcing a simple, powerful, and non-controversial moral code. Be kind. Anything else, I believe, is a distraction, a political battle that harms the educational environment and offers a false panacea for problems that require a much deeper, more human solution. So we have a choice. We can turn our schools into the next front for a deeply contentious and divisive debate, or we can unite to strengthen them as places of academic learning built on a universal foundation of mutual respect. Do you agree, or do you see a different path? Tell me and tell everyone in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening and for thinking so deeply with me today. If you want to improve your English faster, make listening to podcasts and videos like this a small, daily habit. It truly makes all the difference.